Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Tim Bagonis. I'm the CMO of DTools, and with me is Travis Leo, the founder of Tracknicity. And thanks for taking the time to attend our webinar today, which is Bridging the Inventory Management Gap with DTools and Tracknicity. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know your time is valuable. We're going to try and keep this right to an hour. And let's go ahead and get started. So a little housekeeping. If you've attended a webinar with us before, then you kind of know the drill. But if not, we're using GoToWebinar, which means we will be presenting on the screen. There is a questions pane that you can use to ask questions. And we will be doing some Q&A later on. So as we go through the presentation, if you do have questions, be sure to log them and we'll get to them. And then there's a little arrow in the top of your control panel. If you want to increase the viewing area, go ahead and click that, and that will increase your viewing. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is we're really going to talk about how DTools and Tracknicity can help you overcome the gap in managing inventory for your workflow. We'll talk a little bit about an overview of DTools, what Tracknicity is, what problems are we trying to solve together, talk a little bit about best practices, and then Travis will do a demo of Tracknicity. We'll talk a bit about how we can work together to help you, and then of course we'll have time for Q&A. So a little bit about DTools. For those of you who are not utilizing our solution, we have software that helps system integrators streamline their project workflow from estimation through system design through project management. We've been in the market for over 21 years. We were founded by Adam Stone, who was himself a systems integrator and discovered a better way for him to manage his projects by tying information and equipment lists to his drawings. And he was trying to solve a problem for himself and realized that the market could be better served. And there's a lot of parallels with what Travis can talk about later as we talked about Tracknicity. We've grown to over 6,000 customers in over 87 countries. We continue to build on both our on-premise and SaaS solutions, and we serve the residential and commercial AV, IT, education, and security industries. So our on-premises solution, System Integrator, is a full solution that helps customers streamline the way that they do their estimates, tying that to their system designs and drawings. We have a very tight integration with Visio and AutoCAD so that you can take the information that you are using for your projects, that product information, that labor information, and leverage that to generate your drawings, your engineered drawings such as schematics, line diagrams, elevations, plan views. And that same information can then be leveraged to manage the project through to installation, through scheduling, through generating purchase orders, through our mobile install to manage your field technicians. And we have a very, very tight integration with QuickBooks, which will come into play as we talk a little further about how DTools and Tracknicity can work together. DTools Cloud is our SaaS offering. It has been in the market for about a year. We launched it at CEDIA 2018. And what DTools Cloud is a web-accessible SaaS platform that really helps focus on initially the sales process, providing tools for integrators to manage their sales pipeline, to generate their quoting and their proposals in a way that's very elegant, browser-based, no need for any desktop applications. One of the things that we started with DTools Cloud that we will be migrating into the newest version of System Integrator is integrated dealer costs from our supplier partners So if you work with a specific brand and you're an authorized dealer, you can log into DTools Cloud, enter your credentials, and get your specific pricing information available that helps speed the way that you can generate your proposals. We've also have integrated ordering so that you can procure the products for your projects, as well as browser-based drawings. So initially you can generate plan views, you can generate what we call whiteboards, which enable you to upload images, mark them up, add equipment, generate your quote through that drawing. And we have a very tight integration with QuickBooks Online, which means that you can also utilize Tracknicity to manage products through once you've had the project approved. And at this point, I'm going to introduce Travis Leo, and he can tell us a bit about Tracknicity.
Thanks, Tim. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody, for taking the time to join us. I'll go through a little bit about Tracknicity here, kind of how we became about, and then go through a demo in a little bit. So effectively, what Tracknicity is, it's an iOS application for mobile field workers and installation technicians who handle parts and inventory for customers. This was developed really as a struggle for a truly integrated inventory solution for companies like us. As by day, I run a fairly large systems integrator in the Denver area. We were struggling to find a solution that would help us manage what we call hybrid inventory, where 90% of what we buy is directly for a job, 10% comes from stock, and there wasn't a solution out there. And we said there's got to be a better way to do it, and we went and built Tracknicity. It seamlessly integrates with QuickBooks, both desktop and online, so regardless of which QuickBooks version you're using, in a very simple integration fashion. And it's really ideal for any industry where you've got mobile workers and parts and pieces, so AV, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, etc. As I mentioned earlier, it's really designed for companies that operate in a hybrid type inventory fashion, where some of the stuff you buy is for a job and some of the stuff you buy is for stock that gets used on jobs. As far as an inventory management platform goes, the key features: QuickBooks integration out of the box, multi-location capabilities, so you can have as many warehouses, as many vans, as many staging areas, whatever you want out of the box. It gives every employee a mobile barcode scanner, so using the iOS device, soon to be Android device that you have, you can scan parts, pieces in using the UPC code that comes from the manufacturer. It allows you to check parts in and out from your iOS device. So instead of a clipboard or something like that, you scan the item, you check it out from the warehouse straight to the job. You can also do custom requests. One of the things we've seen from other inventory solutions out there was no great way, if one of our technicians needed Cat6 ends on his van, outside of an email or a Post-it note or a phone call, there was no good way for him to request that because it may not have been an inventoried item. So we created the ability to do custom requests. User configurable notifications has been one of the big features and saved us and the other companies using Tracknicity a tremendous amount of time and money. Every person needs to know, hey, we're trying to finish up this job and the client added a 65-inch TV. Hey, warehouse guy, can you let me know as soon as that TV has arrived so I can install it and close out the job? So they order the TV, and sure enough, they forget to tell the project manager that it arrived 4 days later. In Tracknicity, we created the ability to get a notification, so as soon as that TV is received in the warehouse and received in QuickBooks, an iOS push notification goes to the person who needed to know that information to tell them that, hey, the 65-inch TV for the Jones job is here. So user configurable notifications is a big feature. Reporting in history by employee, by job, so the ability to look at what parts got checked out to what job, what employee checked them out, what's on each van, etc. We really tried to model this after T-sheets. We as a company have been using T-sheets for 5 or 6 years, and we saw what it did to our business in terms of changing how we did time entry. As we started developing Tracknicity, we said we want to do to inventory management what T-sheets did to time entry. And I think we've really accomplished that, quite frankly, what you'll see in the demo here. So the problems that Tracknicity solves, the first thing, it eliminates the need for clipboards, emails, and Post-it notes. So most companies are doing purchasing with clipboards, emails, Post-it notes. Hey, order this, buy this. Hey, I need this for this job. They're checking product out from the warehouse to the staging area using a clipboard and a pen. This eliminates that and makes everything electronic, straight from the devices that your field techs already have. It tells everyone what is in stock and notifies people when the products arrive. So as I mentioned earlier, the ability to get notification when you need to know that something has arrived in the warehouse. And it eliminates the do we have that in stock phone call that costs time and money. We were dealing with a situation where our service tech would be at a job site. The client would say, I want to do this. He would pick up the phone and call our front desk person. The front desk person would transfer it to the warehouse person. The warehouse person would go back into the warehouse and look and see if we had that in stock, come back. Next thing we know, we've wasted 15 minutes answering a very simple question of, do we have a Lutron 10ND in stock? So this eliminates that, do we have it in stock, and gives that technician who's standing in front of a customer not only the information of do we have it in stock, but what's it cost and how quickly can we get it installed. It gives every employee a free barcode scanner. We looked at other solutions when we were evaluating this about a year and a half ago. We found lots of custom solutions that required QR codes and barcodes and the like, and it was going to cost us thousands of dollars to deploy it. And we said, why not use the devices that we've already spent money for, i.e. the iOS devices that all of our technicians have, and give them that capability. So built-in barcode scanner. Probably the biggest benefit it made for our company when we deployed this was it made project reconciliation quick and easy, and it made sure we got paid for all the parts we used on the job. So we invariably, on every job we would do, there would be a last-minute ad, a last-minute, I want to do this, change from a tilt mount to an articulating mount, or add an Apple TV. And in our rush to get the job done, we were pretty bad about making sure that we got paid for all those last pieces. With Tracknicity and the ability to seamlessly check out products from the warehouse or make changes from stock, we found that our project reconciliation was much, much quicker and faster, and we were capturing those last-minute changes that, yeah, they're $100, not a big deal, but when you do 250 jobs each and you got $100 in outstanding stuff on each one, that adds up to real money at the end of the year. It's easy to deploy. Tracknicity you can be up and running with Tracknicity in a matter of a few minutes, syncing your data. It's not a custom solution. It doesn't require months and months worth of implementation and process change. It leverages what you're already doing today in DTools and QuickBooks. We chose to partner with DTools because they're the best when it comes to design, the best when it comes to product database, labor information, and the seamless integration with QuickBooks made it a no-brainer. Obviously, we were very familiar with DTools as well, but you're not creating new data in Tracknicity. You're simply taking the data that you already have in DTools and thus have in QuickBooks, and Tracknicity is accessing that from QuickBooks and from DTools. We intentionally didn't want you to have a separate database for inventory because that's just silly. It's just one more system to manage, one more database that's out of sync. So you'll see as we do the demo, this is pulling in real time out of QuickBooks. Graphically, this is what we were trying to solve. So what you see on the left there, this was the inventory tracking sheet that we used as a company a year and a half ago. You can see the dates on there. This is how we tracked inventory and what went out to jobs. It was a nightmare. We would have to manually enter this all into QuickBooks at the end of the week if we kind of remembered to do so. You see stuff that's crossed out. We see return stuff. There's notes. We can't tell who checked everything out. This is the way we were operating. And we said there has to be a better way, and that's how Tracknicity was born. So taking what we were doing on the left to a web-based application, iOS-based application on the right, and it has made a huge, huge difference to our business, to the point that we've shown this to so many people and they said, hey, you really should do something with this, and we launched Tracknicity about a month ago. Tim, I'll turn this back over to you.
So let's talk a bit about how DTools and QuickBooks together with Tracknicity helps helps the customers with their workflow. So you talk about where Tracknicity kind of evolved from. What have you found from working with the solution that the benefits have helped the most?
So, for people already using DTools today, the tight integration really allows you to have seamless workflow from your initial project proposal all the way through to the purchasing, the installation, the additional items that get added on. Tracknicity really picks up on that where sort of DTools left off. So, Tracknicity is an inventory solution, and your inventory solution should be tied to your financial accounting software, not to your project software. So that's why we did the integration with QuickBooks, leveraging what you're already doing in DTools. What we found is that there's been a tremendous amount of improved communication between team members, better visibility into the project items, warehouse stock, vehicle stock, and total stock. Quickly being able to look at the dashboard, which I'll demo in a minute, and see how much money I have tied up in inventory, how much money's on each van. A huge benefit that has really improved our profitability as an integrator. The items are tracked from the initial receipt to staged, delivered, and installed. So I'll demo that here in a little bit. And it's really helped us prevent the unnecessary purchase of in-stock items. So we'd find that we'd have Apple TVs sitting out on vans. We'd go buy more Apple TVs for the warehouse when we had 10 of them sitting on vans out there. So it's really helped us do that. It's really helped us improve our job reporting capabilities and focus in on budget versus actuals. And then the product reconciliation, like I mentioned at the end, making sure that we get paid for those last little pieces on each job. And then, just as I mentioned earlier, the real-time inventory information, the interactive reports has just brought so much more visibility to our business and to other customers' business. It just gives them a tremendous amount of tracking, which ultimately, when leveraged with DTools, really improves the profitability of the organization.
Great. Thanks, Travis. So we're going to talk a little bit about best practices, and really from what Travis has laid out. If you're utilizing DTools and you've got your product catalog, you set your pricing, you're doing your work, really the information starts there. You start with your project, you generate your proposal, you've done your engineered drawings, and really it's once you get that project approved and you push that estimate over into QuickBooks. And again, I want to stress that in order to take advantage of the workflow and the benefits, you need to have DTools SI or DTools Cloud integrated with QuickBooks. So you need that QuickBooks integration because that information that is generated from the DTools product library and your DTools catalog can be synced directly to QuickBooks, so that once you got that proposal or that job accepted, you can push that estimate over into QuickBooks. You can then generate your purchase orders in DTools, sync those to QuickBooks. You can receive the items within DTools, make sure that that's synced to QuickBooks. And then once those items are living in QuickBooks, that's really where Tracknicity picks up.
Yeah, so once all the items are in QuickBooks, it's very easy to receive those items and automatically sync that to Tracknicity. So once the purchase order is entered in QuickBooks, it allows me to generate a pick list, and my field technicians can quickly on their iOS device say, yep, I'm taking these 3 items to the job site. So automatically syncs up there. It also gives me the ability to see budget versus actuals, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. So once the pick lists are generated, the items in Tracknicity, the notifications are set up, you schedule the install tasks through DTools mobile install or whatever you end up using for your time, your scheduling and time coordination. You can really use anything you want as long as the data gets back into QuickBooks. So you schedule your activities. And then what Tracknicity allows you to do is track the purchased and stock items from the warehouse to install through the app. So I check out my purchased items, which I'll show you in the demo here, the staging area as we call it in Tracknicity, items purchased for the job, and I can also add the stock items that get added or that we're using from stock for that job, kind of separate those out. Once the job's complete, the project reconciliation is done between Tracknicity and DTools. So Tracknicity and QuickBooks is where you capture the adds, the changes, the deletes that happened when you may not have had time to put a change order together or update DTools because it happens in real time. So you pull that information out of Tracknicity and QuickBooks, you update your DTools and your final change order, and you send the invoice out. That's what helps you make sure that you capture all those last-minute parts pieces to get paid for in the job.
Terrific. All right, thanks. Thanks, Travis. And I believe now we will pass it to Travis and we will do a demo of Tracknicity.
Okay, I'm going to bring up here. Tim, can you see? Yep, everybody should be able to see. Yep. This is a screen emulation of an iPhone here. So normally this demonstration, guys, is about an hour long. I'm going to try and condense it down to about 20 minutes here just to keep everything quick and save a bunch of time for questions at the end. So what I'm showing you here is a screen emulation of an iPhone. And this is live data in here. This is not made up fake data. This is live data that we, residential systems, are using to manage our company in Tracknicity. So click here, the 4 areas of Tracknicity. First of all, it's a branded application. You can brand it however you want, your company logo, etc. The dashboard, transaction, inventory, and admin. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. First thing I have here is the list of projects. So this is pulling a straight data feed out of QuickBooks and showing all of the projects that we have open in QuickBooks, syncing up in real time. And I can go into any job. I'm going to go in this one just because I know some of the parts in it. And it brings up a quick budget versus actuals calculation. So I can look at this job and I can see my budget that I had in DTools that we submitted in, or that we pushed into QuickBooks, had 758 hours on this job. We've used 348. For us, that used data comes from T-Sheets. It could come from DTools Mobile Install, again, however you get your payroll data into QuickBooks from an hours standpoint. So I can see that we're 410 hours under budget on this job. So I can look at any job that we have in QuickBooks. If we sold a new job in QuickBooks today, it would get added in here in real time. So I don't need to go and change anything. It's an automatic sync, automatically pulls it in real time. So that's the projects piece. I'm going to skip past the checkout and come back to this because this is kind of the heart of Tracknicity and show you some of the other stuff on the dashboard. Next piece is a vehicle assignment. So you can assign your users vans or vehicles, and they can quickly, with one click right here, pull up what's the inventory in their van. So they can look, and if they have a question, do I have this in stock? And again, this is real data for van 14. You know, we've got one Ruckus R310 unleashed access point, and I can see the total value in here. So very easy for a user to see their van inventory. They can also see their history of parts that they've checked out, checked in, etc. I don't have any history in here because I, as a user, and I'm actually logged in here, don't do this on a regular basis, check stuff out, but you will see the history stuff and some of the other stuff that I show you. We wanted to make it very easy for folks to submit requests. So if they need stuff for their van, if they need custom parts, you'll see right here that there's a red dot here. That shows that I've got a pending request. I'm going to submit another request here. What this allows our technicians to do is to say, you know, hey, I need something for the job, or I need something for my van. So I'm going to say van 14. And here I could either browse the items in inventory, I could scan it if I knew I needed a particular item that I had a barcode for, I could search the items, but most often what this gets used for is a custom request. So if I click custom request and I say I need cat 6 ends, cat 6 ends, oops, if I could type here, geez. I hit add and boom, it's added right there. So I could add, you know, that's going to submit a request right here. And as the user, our warehouse person, will now get a notification on their iOS device saying you have a pending request. I go right here to my requests because I'm logged in as somebody who receives those requests, and I can go right here and I can see that Travis Leo to van 14 on August 14th didn't request an ETA. He requested Cat 6 ends. It's a custom part. So I can go in here and I can say, yep, I acknowledge that I have received that request. And now the person who submitted that request is going to get a notification saying your request has been acknowledged. And when it's staged and ready to go, I click staged and ready to go. And now the user is going to get a notification saying your item has been staged and is ready for pickup or delivered, whatever the case might be. So that's how custom requests can be done. I can see my pending requests. I can see completed requests. So I've got my history of requests, in case I've ever got any question of what came down the pipe there. I'm going to go into the checkout piece now, which is, like I said, really the heart of Tracknicity. So within Tracknicity, you can set up your locations. So we've got all of our locations set up, one for each of the vans and vehicles that we have. We have our warehouse area set up. We have our staging area set up. And then we have an area for eBay. We have some stuff that we are selling on eBay, so we moved it in the location. So this is obviously where it's coming from. I'm going to show you sort of two different ways. So from the warehouse, if I'm taking something from the warehouse, I can move it to a van if I want to. I can move it to a client. So if I go to client and I'm going to use that same job, I start typing in the job, it brings up the job number. So I can move product from the warehouse to the job, from the warehouse to a different vehicle. Again, this is syncing in real time in QuickBooks. So I can type in a different client name that I know we have in QuickBooks. You can set it up so if you have jobs or service, you can set it up. So for us at Art Residential Systems, non-contract is service. So if this is a service thing, I click non-contract. And that's then going to show up on a non-contract report that we can sweep every week to make sure we build for all of our parts. Once I have the job in here, I can again do three things. I can browse the items. So if I click browse, again brings up a real-time feed into my QuickBooks inventory, my QuickBooks parts list. So I can scroll through here and I can say, I'm going to take an Aris surfboard 6141 modem. And that's going to add that to the list. I could scan an item using the barcode scanner. Unfortunately, I can't demo that because I'm using a screen emulator here. But if you were using an actual iPhone, you click scan, it brings up a barcode, you scan the barcode, and the item automatically populates right here. If the barcode isn't found, you can learn the barcode in. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute, but it allows for easy scanning and barcode capability. Or I can search. So I just go in here, I type in Apple, it's going to go back and bring up Apple TV 4K, that's what I'm adding, and boom, I add it in there. If I needed to add a custom item, that like I'm taking something that we don't have in inventory, or I just want to track it, I can add my custom item there. And I can also add items to the staged item list, which I'll show you here in a minute. So the key point of this in this transaction that I would submit here if I were going to is this would be stuff coming out of stock, meaning from the warehouse to that job. What I'm going to do next instead of that is show you how most of the time it works for products that has been purchased for clients. In that case, we call that the staging area. So I go from the staging area, I'm going to go to that job that I mentioned earlier and pull this up. And what you see come up is automatically a list of any purchase orders that have been submitted in QuickBooks or submitted in DTools and pushed into QuickBooks for this job. So I can see that there's 2 Apple TVs, there's an audio control D4600, there's an audio control rack mount piece, there's 3 Chief TS525s. So I'm the technician getting ready to go on site and install some of the equipment. I quickly click here, 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 here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take all the Control 4 stuff here. I'm going to take this, but I'm only going to take one of them. I'm going to take the 4 remotes right here, but I'm only going to take 2 of them. and I would click right here, check out. And what that's going to do is that's going to show that status changed from received, because all these items have been received in the warehouse, and it's going to show them delivered. And I'll show you that on the web dashboard here in just a moment. So that's the big difference between the staging area and the warehouse. Staging area is designed for parts that you bought for the job. Depending upon how you treat inventory in QuickBooks, you may or may not have brought them into inventory. Tracknicity works with it both ways. But as I mentioned earlier about the hybrid functionality, this is where Tracknicity really shines, is that it allows me to take the product that I bought for the job from this staging area, or do the same thing for parts that get added to the job from the warehouse. And again, I'll show you that on the web dashboard here in just a moment so you can see it a little bit deeper. So that's the transaction piece, really. From an inventory standpoint, if I go in here, it pulls up my inventory list again, or excuse me, my parts list again that lives in QuickBooks. So it's a key point that this is not a separate database in Tracknicity. This is pulling from my QuickBooks parts list in real time. We don't believe that you should have to manage a separate inventory for Tracknicity. You already have your parts list in DTools. You already have your parts list in QuickBooks. Those are in sync or close to in sync. So instead of requiring you to maintain another database, have it pull straight from QuickBooks in real time. I'm going to go back in here to Eris. I'm going to pull up that same surfboard modem, and I get the price detail, the details here. I click View Locations, and I can see where those items are. So I've got one in the warehouse, I've got one in van 14, I've got one in van 4. It shows that I have 0 in van 3. At some point, I had one in van 3. That's why it shows me 0 there. I'll go back into a different part here that shows a little more history. Go to a Cisco. Where'd they go? I just saw it. I'll go into this SG110 switch right here. Right here, I can see cost. So cost and price, again, coming straight from QuickBooks. So if I'm a service technician, client needs a switch, how much does it cost? I've got my cost and price. I've got my UPC code here. If I click View Locations, it shows me where they are. So I've got 4 in the warehouse, 1 on this van, 1 on this van, 1 on this van, etc. I can then also see a history here. So this is a good history to look at. On July 17th, Sam, who's one of our technicians, took a Cisco SG110 switch from van 9 to this job. So this client added that switch to the job, and that's why I see a red 1 here. I can also see that earlier in that morning, 7/17, same technician took one from the warehouse to his van. So the purple ones here are internal transfers, meaning they stayed in inventory, they just moved locations. If I scroll down, yep, I can probably find one here that got returned. So one of our technicians brought one from the job, from this Jim Yates job, back to his van, CB2, on May 28th. So I have good history reporting of all the times that these switches have been checked out from here. Maybe I'm doing a cycle count and I find that I've got an extra device. We discovered one. I can go in here. I can go to this quantity by location, and maybe we found one in van 12. I quickly click right there, and that's going to add it into our inventory. So I can adjust inventory counts in real time if I find additional devices or we can't locate them here. I can also learn in a UPC code. In this case, we have a UPC code for this device already learned in, but if Apple comes out with a new Apple TV and I need to learn the UPC code in, I can do that there. So that's really the inventory function of Tracknicity and how it's accessed on the mobile app. I could search for items, I could scan items. Again, I apologize, I can't show you the barcode scanner. It's a very powerful element of Tracknicity, but it doesn't work in doing a web emulation here. The last piece that I'll show you on here is the admin functionality. So I can go in here, I can see for the last week what has been checked out from the warehouse to different jobs. So I can see that, we had a Wattbox 300 from the warehouse to this job get checked out. I can see, the date, the technician that did it. I can see returns. I can obviously go as far back as I want. I can look at it by user. So if I want to say what has our service technician checked out, I can see that on August 12th, he took a Lutron LMJ5T from the warehouse to this job. And anytime for us, non-contract, that's service. So I know, hey, I need to generate a service bill for that because it shows up as non-contract there. So it gives me good history reconciliation. This is where I would go in and learn the UPCs. So I could go in and learn a UPC code for a new product. This is where I can also go in and receive parts to a location. So if we bought stuff for van stock, instead of receiving it into the warehouse and moving it to van 6, I just say, hey, I want to receive this straight to van 6, and I can go in there and do that. So with that, I'm going to switch to showing you the online dashboard that accompanies that. So what I've shown you so far is the web app, or excuse me, the iOS app. I'm now going to show you the web app that accompanies it. So you would log in here just like you would to any other web app. First thing is the inventory. It's going to look a lot like what you saw on the iOS device. I go in here, alarm.com parts. I can see what I've got. I click here. I can see that I have, oops, sorry, I need to just close one thing here. I have 2 of them in the warehouse, and I can see that on this date, May 20th, one of our technicians brought 2 back from this job, from this K3158 job to the warehouse. I can just X out of here. Maybe I'm looking for Apple TV. I type in Apple. I find my Apple TV 4K. I see my cost, price, UPC code. Again, history. So this one came back, or one came back from this job to the warehouse on Thursday. Looks like it went out from the warehouse to the job earlier, so this one got returned. I can see my location, where they are by location right here. So very similar functionality on the web app. If I've got items that are archived in QuickBooks and archived in Tracknicity, I can see them there. Obviously, we select active items, because that's really what we're looking for. I'm going to skip over approvals for a minute and come back to that. The core of Tracknicity is the project reporting. So I go in here. Let me just X out of here. If I went into it for the first time, it's going to bring up a customer list. I'm going to bring up that same job that I showed you earlier and click Run Report. And I'm going to see 2 things here. First thing I'm going to see is that same budget versus actuals report that we saw on the iOS device. So same data, 758 hours, 410 hours under budget. But on the web dashboard, I've got a little more detail. So I've taken the estimate that we put together in DTools and pushed it into QuickBooks, and we then track our hours using these same categories. So I can see that, for system design, we've used 42.75 hours against a budget of 25. I've used 7 hours of material staging against a budget of 0. We've used 26 travel hours against a budget of 54. So I can see the further breakdown of my hours, and as an owner or as a manager, I can look and say, well, how come there's no budget for material staging? Geez, I need to go and talk to my sales guy about that. Or, hey, engineering team, why have we used 42 hours when we only had a budget of 25 for system design? So I get real good granular detail in here, again, from that estimate that came from DTools and got pushed into QuickBooks. The other piece of the project reporting is on the right, and that's the items piece. And there's 2 sections to this. The first is items on POs, and if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, see items from stock. So again, items from PO are items that I have made a purchase order in QuickBooks, and whether I do it in DTools and push it into QuickBooks, or I do the purchase order straight into QuickBooks, every item that you see on here has a purchase order for it. So if I look at this piece right here, I can see that we've ordered one of these Cisco switches, we've received it, and we've delivered it. If I click on it right here, it brings up that says that it was checked out on Monday, July 20th by a technician, so I know who took this switch on site. So if all of a sudden this switch is gone missing or nobody knows where it is, I have the audit and the tracking because he checked it out from his iPhone. I know exactly where it is. You'll see that this audio control rack mount piece is highlighted, and there's a couple of other pieces here that are highlighted, a couple of HAI pieces here. What that means is they've been ordered, but they haven't been received. So maybe they're on back order, maybe the warehouse is out of them, I don't know what the case is. If I click this bell right here, that is going to notify me via an iOS push notification when that piece comes in. So tomorrow morning, our warehouse guy is receiving that audio control rack mount piece comes in. When he receives that in QuickBooks without doing anything, I get a notification saying the audio control rack mount for NUMAS N3153 has been received in the warehouse. So if I've been waiting for that part to show up, if I've been waiting for it, I'm now going to have notification that it's here. So you can easily go through and you can say, yep, I want to get notified when all of these remaining parts arrive, and boom, I'm set up and ready to go. Again, that's been a huge functionality piece for us and for our field staff. Parts stuff here, whether it's been staged, delivered, this is stuff that came from stock, not from the staging area. In spirit of time, I'm going to fly through these next two fairly quickly. Inventory by location. This allows me to see where all my items are by location, and also shows me the dollar cost right here. So you can see, like, if I click warehouse, it takes just a second for this data to pop up because it's actually calculating that you've got $93,000 sitting in the warehouse. So I can see van by I can see what we've got on our cube, CV1. You know, I can see what I've got sitting at eBay trying to sell. I can see what I've got. Most of our trucks don't have much. So easy see van inventory by location. I can also go in here and see a history. So I can see that same history that I looked at on the website, or excuse me, on the mobile app. So on Tuesday, this technician took a Snap AV Wattbox 300 from the warehouse to this job. Again, red shows going out, green shows coming back in. So this came from a job back to the warehouse. And I don't show any internal transfers on here. The approvals piece that I mentioned, we put in a second step. You can do this or not. All of ours are approved. If you want to set in the ability for your folks to go in and approve your purchasing person or a controller, something like that, if there were any unapproved items, it would show that I could go in and approve. It looks like our warehouse person went through either end of the day yesterday or first thing this morning and approved all of these transactions. If the person put in the wrong customer, the wrong whatever, they can reject it and then resubmit it. Again, you don't have to do that, but real kind of best practice is to have a second set of eyes on things from a control standpoint. Company tab, general settings, this is where I go in and set up my stuff, whether I'm going to use approvals or not, and then how I handle QuickBooks, either inventory or non-inventory parts. I'm not going to go into that in detail. Just suffice it to say, regardless of how you use QuickBooks, the inventory or non-inventory mode, Tracknicity works with both of it. You just have to set up how you handle it. You can put your logo in here to brand it for yourself. Inventory locations, this is where I go in and adjust our inventory locations. So if we had a new van, I'm just going to go in and add van 22, and now I've got a new inventory location. I can archive off old locations. I can look at archived active locations, etc. Close a couple of these windows here just to clean this up. Users, this is the admin user setting. So I can go in and add a user. Admin gives them additional rights. The requests piece, this is where we assign who gets the requests for staged items, custom items. So using that example of Cat 6 ends that I did earlier, if somebody requested Cat 6 ends, in this case, these 4 people that are highlighted right here, their iPhone's going to buzz saying you have a new request. I can assign the vehicles to people, so this is what allows them to check their vehicle inventory from that dashboard screen earlier. I can quickly look at total valuation, so I can see by day the inventory that I have in my warehouse, or excuse me, by all locations, and I can then see where the high dollar value items are. So I can see in this case we've got 10 cameras at $321 each. I got $3,200 tied up in this product right here. So it just allows me very quick, easy access to see where my dollars are. Last piece is the QuickBooks integration. It's as simple as downloading the Web Connect file, launching it, typing in 8752, and you get off and running. There's a little bit more to it than that, but I'm not going to go into it here. But like I said, regardless of whether you're using QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, etc., it's going to work flawlessly in that fashion. So Tim, with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And we'll just make myself the presenter here. And hold on. All right. All right, terrific. And with that, we will, let's talk about how do customers work with Tracknicity and really what's it going to cost?
So when we designed Tracknicity, one of the core beliefs that Jim and I had as we founded this was we said this has to be affordable for people. We're small business owners. We understand that software is expensive, but it adds a tremendous amount of value that can't be overly expensive. And so we really set out, as I mentioned, we modeled it after T-Sheets for this to be a very affordable, adoptable solution. So let's say you're a 20-person company. Our experience shows that roughly 60% of your company would be a user, meaning a field person, a purchasing person. You know, you don't need Tracknicity for your design team and your sales team. So you use that 20-person company, you're probably at the very high end of standard, low end of premier. Under either scenario, you're talking $1,000, $2,000 a year, $1,200 or $2,400 a year. And it's not a pay up front, so you're not locked in if for whatever reason you change your business model or you adjust your number of users. We wanted this to be a very affordable solution. We've seen a number of other solutions out there that are quite a bit more and lock you into pricing. That wasn't the goal here. This was designed to be a very affordable solution, get you up and running, will onboard you for free, and it's not going to nickel and dime you in terms of your parts and pieces. So if you add a 5th location, it doesn't cost more. All the plans include all the items that you see down here, the unlimited inventory, mobile app, projects, the notifications, unlimited cloud storage, we're hosting it in the Google Cloud, and unlimited customer support. So you can see the pricing there, pretty straightforward. There are some discounts for ASEAN members. We're talking to some of the other buying groups, but suffice it to say, it's a very low cost point for the value that it can bring to your business.
Terrific. All right, and so again, to reiterate, if you're a DTools customer, you must have SI and the QuickBooks integration working together to really take advantage of the benefits of what SI and Tracknicity can do together. You can source Tracknicity directly from our website. So if you're on DTools.com and you go to the Tracknicity page, you can click right through and go right to Tracknicity to purchase there, or you can call in and mention DTools. And then, Travis, you're offering some onboarding session.
Yeah, so what we found is that most everybody that is using Tracknicity needed a little help getting through the onboarding. They had some QuickBooks questions. They had some questions about inventory versus non-inventory. And so what we've set up is a series of 4 sessions starting tomorrow. One's Thursday, then 3 next week, which is really a free onboarding session. So with any Tracknicity subscription, you get 30 days to try it. What we wanted to do was get you off on the right foot. So we set up 4 Zoom sessions using the link at the very top. And Tim, I know you said we'll send this out to the group afterwards. If you do want a calendar invitation sent to you, my email address is there. Please feel free to drop me an email and we'll get you included on one of the demonstrations, or excuse me, one of the onboarding sessions. But really the onboarding session is designed for you know, a QuickBooks person, a purchasing person who's going to be using this on a regular basis. Let's get you set up and off on the right foot. If you do this right up front, it will be an invaluable tool to your business. If you do it and sort of mess around with it and think I'll get around to it eventually, it'll be like any other software and it will frustrate you. So we want to get you off on the right foot, and that's the purpose of those sessions. If for whatever reason those sessions don't work, we can also schedule a time to do an onboarding session for you and your team. So happy to do that, and like I said, we'll send the details out later, or feel free to email me at that email address and we'll get you a calendar invite for one of them.